So, I know this must be awkward for you guys. Not the part with me not having a shirt on, but the fact that my last video was a visual novel playthrough and I haven't uploaded in 4 months. But honestly, it wasn't because of the visual novel. I was actually planning to, and I do plan to eventually get back to it. I'm just really backed up with work right now. 40-hour work week. Thankfully, I don't have school or I just wouldn't be able to upload at all. But I did still want to do something as an apology for everyone waiting as long as they have. And as a result, I decided, you know what? Quick little movie review. It's not going to hurt anything. I have a bigger project lined up. I'm just going to spoil it right now. I have a Kung Fu Panda 2 review coming out. It may take a long time, maybe like a year plus, but I really do want to fully make it as good as it can possibly be to express just how much I adore that movie. Until then, though, the movie that I am reviewing today is actually going to be the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And all the way back to my first fucking video on this channel, Five Nights at Freddy's, first thing I did. There were multiple different videos that I did, and Five Nights at Freddy's took up a lot of my adolescent years. Spending a lot of the time with my sister or my brother, playing the games, watching theories, getting the figures. It was something that we all enjoyed and that brought us all closer. So, yesterday I decided to go take them to see the movie, which was something that it wasn't a last second plan, trust me. I requested the day off all the way back in June. Like, as soon as the first trailer dropped, I decided, you know what, fuck it. I'm going opening day, and thankfully we went opening day. And honestly, the critical reception had me a bit worried. And I didn't see until today that the audience reception was skyrocketing. Because if you look at it right now, I think that the Rotten Tomatoes critic rating is like 28%, but the audience rating is like 89%. And that's something I notice with a lot of horror movies, though. Because critics are supposed to judge every movie, no matter what genre, based on how well it does as a movie. Meanwhile, a lot of audiences will judge, like, oh, how does this compare to other horror movies or other comedies or other insert genre here? That's why you will see a lot of horror movies or comedies in general just really low critical ratings, but audiences love it. Because it's not the same when you're judging it from a different perspective. However, the movie, despite the critic ratings, I honestly really enjoyed. I've seen a few different people upset that they didn't really go in depth about the souls that were possessing the animatronics, and like, we see the kids, but they don't get explained their specific stories. But personally, I like that rather than disliking it. Mainly because the fact that that is part of what makes the game so eerie. The fact that these children were murdered, and with the murders, like, we barely know anything about them. We don't get closure, nothing. We don't get a backstory to make us able to know them better. The lack of information makes us scare ourselves more than any movie ever could. And that is really powerful. I think the focus that was made on Mike and his sister Abigail is honestly really sweet. The acting, yeah, it's not the best, but at the same time, it's definitely solid. Mike's character, pretty good. And then Abby, I just love the acting there. Whatever actor they had hired, I definitely think she should return for the second, if Mike is coming back in general for the second. Because, let's be honest here, the first movie may have taken 8 years to be released because it was announced in 2015, but it's I think it's already broken 10 million at the box office. And as I am making this video, it is only the third day it is out because they changed the release date last second to be October 26th instead of October 27th. Even then, though, like, movie was incredibly enjoyable. There were some confusing things, like Vanessa being the purple guy's child in this movie, and the way that it messes with the lore can be really weird if you look at it from the perspective that it's all supposed to mesh in the same timeline. The way I see it, though, is that the books, games, and movie aren't all their own separate timelines entirely, but they aren't all the same timeline entirely. Some parts of each timeline, or some parts of each category, can fit into another timeline, which is really confusing. But let's say something from one of the books can be canon to the game's timeline. Let me not do the pause there so it makes it easier to understand. Some things from the books can be canon to the game's timelines without other things from the books being canon to the game's timelines. It's like we're using all these different pieces of a puzzle to try to fill in the full picture. It's not all going to make sense in every single timeline, but I don't think that was the point. Because Scott had even said himself that he had handed off the directing to Blumhouse because he knew how to write in terms of books. He knew how to do the game designing, but he had never done anything with movies before. And honestly, what they did with the source material, I definitely ended up really liking the movie. Is a lot of that due to nostalgia? I'll admit, most likely yes. But I didn't hate it at all. It wasn't bad. It wasn't even just okay. It was really enjoyable. And honestly, while it's definitely not the best movie, it does have objective flaws holding it back from what I would otherwise subjectively rank it. I definitely would suggest it for just a fun movie to watch, even if you're not a fan. But if you are a fan, I think you'll absolutely love it and what it does. Overall rating is going to be a 7 out of 10 for me. See you in the next video, guys. I'm out.